Hello, ladies. My name is Samantha Gladish, and I am a hormone nutritionist. And today I am going to spend time talking about stress and the adrenal glands. This is a really important topic to dive into because your adrenal glands are really center stage when it comes to your hormonal health. And so maybe you're not too familiar with the term adrenal glands, but you're familiar with stress, right? We all have stress in many different shapes and forms and all of that going on in our lives. And I'm sure that we all have symptoms that are going to be very different and very individual for each of us that are also associated with stress. So, of course, things like being exhausted and burnt out, yes, that's going to be an impact of stress, but also things like acne, insomnia, weight gain, headaches, low libido, night sweats, food cravings, mood swings. These are also all associated with stress as well, and really just symptoms of hormonal imbalance. It's really important to know that our hormones don't function individually. When one thing gets out of whack, it kind of creates this domino effect, and we start to really experience a cascade of hormonal imbalances and symptoms happening across the board. So, for example, with our stress, if we are starting to experience a lot of stress in our lives, we have all these things in our to-do list with work and kids and family and deadlines and projects and bills and all the things piling up. We start to feel a little bit overwhelmed, maybe a little bit anxious. It starts to impact our sleep. And then because we're not sleeping very well, that starts to impact our insulin levels. And so our insulin starts to impact our cravings, and we start to eat more sugar and more carbohydrates. And then because of that, it might cause issues with our cycle. And then we start gaining weight. So you could see it's this cascade effect that starts to happen, right? One thing goes out of whack and it's a domino effect. And so the adrenal glands is where we're going to spend some time talking today. And so you can really grasp and understand what they do and the importance of them. And so the adrenal glands are these tiny little glands. They sit on top of your kidneys. And even though they are very tiny, they are very, very mighty. So you've probably heard of cortisol, which is often associated as the stress hormone. And cortisol gets a really bad rap. We end up talking poorly about cortisol, but it's a really important hormone. We don't want it too high. We don't want it too low. And cortisol in the right amount is what's actually going to help fuel our body. It's what actually helps us wake up and feel energized during the day. And then as the day goes on, our cortisol levels start to drop. But when we are in stressful situations, if there is an acute stressor that's happening, for example, let's say you're in your car and you're driving along on a sunny day and it's beautiful outside and you've got your music on and you're feeling really good. But all of a sudden you look in your rearview mirror and you see this crazy person that's speeding and is driving like a maniac, and they're driving towards you. And all of a sudden you think they're going to hit you. And in that moment, what's going to happen? Your blood pressure is going to rise. You are going to actually experience this decrease in a sensitivity to pain, because what happens is your cortisol is going to rise. There's a stressor coming up, and your cortisol is going to really help you to really handle the situation at hand. It's going to be really important in helping you save your life. There's a life-threatening issue in front of you, right? A car's coming towards you. They might hit you. And so you have to think quickly. You have to think clearly, and your cortisol is going to come to help you to do that. And so your cortisol is a smart, no nonsense thinking hormone. And what it's going to do is it's going to increase your blood pressure. So you've got blood pressure going throughout your body, so you actually can fight or flight, right? Or it's going to actually suppress the immune system at the same time, because if we've got an acute stressor happening and some crazy person is driving towards us, we can't be thinking about our digestive system and our immune system. everything gets shunted, and we have to really work on this acute stressor. We got to get out of this acute stress situation. We're going to get an increase in our blood sugar. We're going to have heightened memory and attention. There's also going to be a decrease in serotonin, which is our happy hormone, right? Because again, it's a life-threatening situation. We're not going to have this happy hormone serotonin, on high alert right now. Cortisol is going to take center stage. And so that's an acute stressor. Okay. So think about how your nervous system is going to feel if there's a car coming towards you and there could be a potential accident. But now think about chronic stressors. Think about how our cortisol and how our nervous system is reacting day to day in our lives. Bills and payments and stress and work and our jobs and kids and all of the things that's going on in our day-to-day lives, right? Maybe we are sick and we're not feeling well. We've caught a cold or a flu. Maybe we're taking care of a loved one and they're not doing so well. We have a lot of stressors going on in our day-to-day lives. And these chronic stressors, your body can't differentiate between the chronic stress and the acute stress. And so you can imagine every day that feeling of, oh my God, this car is going to come at me. I got to handle this. Your body is thinking in the same way when it comes to your everyday stress and your bills and your kids and your family. So what happens is over time, we have this chronic stress, and it's really our modern lifestyle that is causing our adrenals to over-secrete these hormones, your adrenaline and your cortisol. And then eventually what ends up happening is we become really fatigued and exhausted just from this constant overfiring in our system. And so we start to feel burnt out, right? We start to really feel the effects of this everyday chronic stress. And this has a major impact on our immune system. And over time, it can increase our risk of developing chronic inflammation and even autoimmune conditions. And the thing here that's really important to keep in mind is that your adrenal glands, they actually communicate with your thyroid. There is a communication system that's going on between the thyroid and the adrenals. And your thyroid gland, it's right here in the base of your neck. It's this beautiful butterfly-shaped gland, and it is involved in really controlling the metabolism in your body. So when we think of the term metabolism, we tend to think of weight, right? Weight loss or weight gain. And yes, that's true, but metabolism means a lot of things. Metabolism is how things are moving in the body. Your thyroid is going to govern the metabolism of your brain. It's going to govern the metabolism of your digestion and how well things are moving and digesting. And it's also going to govern the metabolism of your ovaries, which is important for fertility. And so when you have chronic stress going on and you are burnt out and overworked and you're not sleeping well, the adrenals, they're going to start to impact the thyroid gland. And so what happens is, as your adrenal function, because your adrenal function is high, it's on high alert. Okay. That's how I want you to think of it. Your adrenals are dealing with the bills and the kids and the work and the projects. So your cortisol output is very high. So your adrenals are like on overdrive. And when that adrenal output is on high, it actually shuts down your thyroid output. So adrenals go high, thyroid goes low. And then when you have low thyroid function, you start to experience things like issues with your heart rate, with body temperature, maybe issues with your menstrual cycle, as well as changing levels with your cholesterol. Maybe your breathing becomes impacted, and then also your body weight will be impacted as well. And so this is why we really want to get a handle on our stress, because our stress is not only going to cause us to feel exhausted and burnt out, but like I said earlier, it's going to cause this cascade effect. And it's going to impact all the other hormones going on in the body too. And all these nasty symptoms are going to arise, symptoms that nobody wants, right? I don't want to be dealing with erratic heart rate and menstrual cycle issues and pain and fatigue and weight gain, or issues with cholesterol. Nobody wants that. And also with your nervous system, you're going to get a lot of issues with your nervous system as well, and just feeling really, really anxious and really on edge. So we really want to manage and support the stress going on in our lives so that we can minimize these symptoms that we are experiencing. Now, how do we actually do that? How do we support the adrenal glands? Getting rid of stress is easier said than done. And I fully recognize that. And I'm aware of that. We can't just snap our fingers and cause these stressors to go away. So we have to really create healthy boundaries in our lifestyle so that we can effectively manage stress. So some of the simple things that you can include in your day-to-day life, number one is sleeping. And there's a video that's going to come up later this week where I'm going to dive deeper into sleeping. And so I really want you to tune into that video when it releases, because sleep is so essential. When you're sleeping, your body can rest and rejuvenate, and it can detox, and it's going to really help support those cortisol levels. So that's going to be really, really important, having healthy sleep boundaries. Next up, I really want you to think about food and nutrition and how you're nourishing your body. So even though we have these stressors like work and bills and kids and family and all the things going on, neglecting to eat and skipping meals is actually a stressor to the body. So we've probably heard a lot about intermittent fasting, whether you should intermittent fast or not, how that can help hormones and insulin and blood sugar and weight loss. And the thing is, if we have a lot of chronic stress going on and we're not sleeping very well, I don't recommend intermittent fasting. I want you to wake up in the morning and eat a meal within 30 to 60 minutes, because your adrenal glands need that nourishment. And if you deprive your adrenal glands of that nourishment and those nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals from your meals, then you're really going to make the stress worse. You are overworking those adrenal glands. So the nourishment is really, really important. So ideally, when you wake up in the morning, having protein, carbohydrates, and fat all in one meal is going to be ideal. So that might look like 2 eggs with a little bit of sweet potato. Maybe you have some coconut oil on your eggs or your sweet potato, or you have a side of some avocado, something like that. That's going to give you really good protein, really good fat, and carbohydrates. That's well balanced. It's going to balance your blood sugar. And when your blood sugar is balanced, that also means your adrenal glands are going to really feel balanced as well. Okay. So those are really, really essential things for you to start including. Herbs are also really fantastic. Something like ashwagandha or holy basil, those are often my go-to. So in the Harmony Restore product, you can actually find that there's some really great herbs in there. Holy basil and ashwagandha are fantastic for really providing nourishment for the adrenals, and they're known as adaptogens. And these adaptogenic herbs allow your adrenals to better adapt to stress. And so if we can really feed the adrenals these great herbs, the adrenal glands can start to function better. So holy basil is a great one, very calming for the system. Ashwagandha is another one as well. It's got really great calming benefits. And I don't mean calming like it's going to make you fall asleep or anything like that. It's not going to cause you to do that. But it's going to be really calming. And especially ashwagandha, it's also really therapeutic for the thyroid as well. So if you have low thyroid function, ashwagandha is not just going to support the adrenals, but it's really going to support the thyroid as well. So you're getting the best bang for your buck there when you're using something like ashwagandha. And so it's really important that we implement these boundaries in our life, because otherwise we're going to feel the effects and the symptoms. And what happens is, if we start to neglect these symptoms that are showing up, then over time, as we start to age, to really swing the pendulum back becomes that much harder. If we just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and neglecting our health, well, as we start to get into our 40s and our 50s and 60s, let's face it, it's only going to get worse. And those symptoms are really going to, rear their ugly head. And then in order to really get healthy and swing that pendulum back, it becomes a little bit more challenging. So we have an opportunity right now to really support those adrenal glands. So focus on sleep, Get nourishing food in first thing when you wake up in the morning and get that protein, the carbohydrates, and the fat. And if you can do that with every meal, that's going to be really essential. And then also think about including some really great herbs. Also, I want you to think about some techniques and activities that are very calming. So things like deep breathing. We forget how powerful our breath is and how it can guide us through the day when we're feeling anxious. I always come back to my breath. So many of us are breathing with our chest and our shoulders, right? And we're doing this, and that's actually not effective breathing. Also, many of us are working at a desk all day and we're hunched over like this and we're collapsing our lungs. So I want you to sit tall. I want you to put those shoulders back and roll those shoulders down from your ears. So you can create this nice space between your ears and your shoulders. So not like this. So you want to sit like this. And then also putting your hands on your belly button. And when you inhale, I want you to extend your belly button out. So it's almost like, a pregnant belly. I want you to think about it, right? You have like this bloated belly. So you're going to inhale, you're going to push the belly button out, and then you're going to hold, and then you're going to exhale, and you're going to pull that belly button into the spine. So inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 4. And just repeat that for a few minutes during your day when you're feeling really anxious. Your breath is so powerful in helping to calm your nervous system and your heart rate. So always come back to your breath. Okay. And then lastly, I really want you to think about things like meditation and doing activities that bring you joy. Those meditation and breathing can be something that you can combine together. Meditation is something that it doesn't have to be, 30 minutes long and you sitting in this perfect pose. Meditation can literally be some breath work. It could literally be, repeating a mantra over and over. Maybe there's an app, a meditation app that you're listening to, and you just listen to 5 to 10 minutes in the morning or before you go to bed. So that can be really, really powerful and also a great way to calm the nervous system. And then I also want you to think about activities that bring you joy, because that's often missing in our lives. We get so busy with work and family and all of that. We forget about ourselves. What are the things we love to do? Do we love to read? Do we love to garden? Do we love to play piano? Is there a sport that you love to play? What does that look like? If you can try to carve out time a few times a week where you can incorporate that activity, it is going to be so great for your mental health, but also for your nervous system as well. And then one more thing before I let you go, I really want you to think about exercise and movement. So many of us get caught in this trap that more is going to be better. But when we already have adrenal burnout happening and we feel really exhausted and we're not really sleeping well, and then we're trying to do high intensity training and all this cardio, it's not great. You are actually making your adrenal health worse. And so really important to focus on movement. And that might just be walking, going for 30-minute walks every day. But I really want you to tune in and ask yourself if you've been overdoing it. So many of us type A personalities, myself included, we're go, 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 go. Our brains are always busy. We're always thinking. And then when it comes to our workouts, it's like, got to be fast and we've got to be sweating like crazy in order to make it effective. And that's actually going to have the reverse effects on our health and our hormones. And so movement, I want you to think about not just exercise per se, but movement specifically. And maybe it means you need to slow down the movement and do more parasympathetic exercise. Yoga, Pilates, maybe a little bit of bar. I love bar. It's kind of like ballet and Pilates and yoga all in one. So slow down the exercise, especially if you're really burnt out. So I hope these tips are going to be really helpful for you and helping you to reclaim your hormone health and rebalance and support your adrenal glands. I'd love to hear from you and know what of strategies that I've shared here today that you will be implementing. So you can always connect with me, Samantha at holisticwellness.ca, or you can find me on Instagram if you hang out there at Holistic Wellness Foodie. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Take care.